Hello, and welcome to Tech and More. As part of the ongoing series that is Salesforce Automation Testing, welcome to another video. In this video, as similar to the previous 2 to 3 videos, we'll continue discussing the most commonly used Selenium commands and the 4 methods or the 4 commands that are going to be discussed practically are click, getText, getAttribute, and isDisplayed. So let's start. The first one is click method, which says click on required element. So using the click method, you can click on the required element. And honestly, if you have seen previous 4 to 5 videos wherein we have discussed some other commands and we did see a sample script, you do know that we have used click a lot because it's a very, very common function that is required during testing. But again, let's go and see it. So I'll go to the IDE and let me navigate to the step, which is line number 25. Here it says driver.findElement by.xpath.click. So if you do not know what is find element or driver or an XPath, of course, you have to start watching this entire playlist from the very start because all these things are correlated. But if you are someone who has been following us from the very start, you know what is driver, find element, and XPath. You simply have to go and add dot click method in front of this entire line, and it will simply navigate to the element which says login, and it will click on it. So it is as simple as that. I'm not going to show it to you right now because we've already seen it. And when we discuss the further 2 to 3 methods, we'll be seeing this in action because without clicking or without logging in, we'll not able to navigate and validate the other methods or see the other methods, right? So this is click very briefly. Now let's go and talk about the second method, which is getText. So getText, as the name suggests, it returns the visible text present between the start and end tags, works only when the specific element is visible on the web page. First of all, let's focus on the first pointer, that is returns the visible text present between the start and end tags. Right. Before doing it using automation, I always believe that you have to get a taste, you have to get a feel of what actually automation is doing for you. Right. Now, let's suppose you had a test case that said that, log into Salesforce and get the text of of some field, right? So the one that we have used in our example is, let me first use this XPath to locate the element because, I create so much content. I sometimes, I forget the specific data for which we have written an example. Just give me a second. So, yeah, that's it. So you had a test case which said that, go ahead and grab the text or validate the text of the lead name, right? So which is Miss Brenda McClure. So you have to go ahead and validate that this text is visible at the right place on the UI, right? Now, of course, as a manual tester, you'll go and see that this text is present in the lead field as a lead name, and you'll say it's a pass. But using automation, you have to verify that this text is visible on the screen, right? That is where your method, which is getText, will come into action, right? So if the text is visible on the screen, you can fetch that text using the getText method and verify whether the expected text, which is Brenda McClure in this case, and the actual text, which is again Brenda McClure in this test case, do they match or not, right? So if they match, it's a pass. If not, it's a fail, right? So now let me go ahead and let me show it to you specifically on the code, right? So again, we are in the code and let's see the comment for getText method. So as I did tell you, always make sure that you put in the proper comments for an easier understanding later on. So from line number 29 to line number 31, you do see that driver.findElement by.xpath, it stands as it is. We have written the XPath for the element that we are supposed to fetch the text of, which is written here. And at the end, we use the method which is .getText. So what it will do, it will go ahead and it will fetch the text of the element which is selected, right? So I'll run it, but before that, I just want to show it to you one more time. So just a second. Okay, so I have entered the XPath here, which is HTML div h1 slot lightning formatted name. It is going ahead and it is selecting this text, right? So I have given the XPath till the slot, and then till lightning formatted name, right? So whatever the value is between these tags, that is lightning formatted name and lightning formatted name, again the ending tag, this is the text that needs to be fetched, right? So whatever text is between the two tags, opening and closing tags as per HTML, the Selenium will go ahead and print out that text for you. Let's go and do that in action. Okay, so the text will be printed as get text value star star, right? Let me correct this one. Yeah, get text value star star. So we'll run it, right? So we've started running it, and now we'll see what is the value which is printed on the console. So the execution is happening and all these things. It will enter the details, it will navigate to the record, and it will fetch the required data and close the window. What is driver.close? What is driver.quit? We did discuss in the previous video, so I hope you know it. So it went ahead, it's doing the needful, and now the automation is complete, or the execution is complete, and the get text value is Miss Brenda McClure, right? So it was able to validate the text successfully, and it did print it here because we did get system.out.println in line number 31. So with the help of get text, all in all, whenever you want to fetch the text which is displayed on the UI, again, coming back to the second point, which says works only when the specific element is visible on the web page. So if a element is not visible on the web page, or if a text is not visible on the web page, then you cannot get the text of it, which is logical as well, right? So whenever you want to get the text, you go to that element using an XPath, and you simply put dot get text, and it will fetch you the text of that particular element. For example, let me go and let me click on mark status is complete, right? You write down an XPath for this particular element, which is with span and all these things. So let me write down the I don't know, maybe right. Let me write down the XPath for this element, right? Now if I want to fetch the text of this element, what I'll do is I'll simply put it as dot get text. That's it. And whatever the value is between these tags, which is so between span opening tab and between span closing tag, whatever the string is here, which is mark status is complete, it will fetch that particular text and store it in a variable. Why am I emphasizing on this method so much? Because it sounds simple, but you have to understand the gist of the method. So it basically fetches the text whichever is present between the two tags. That's all. Now let's talk about get attribute. Get attribute is basically the opposite of get text, right? So again, let's again see it in action. It basically returns the attribute value of current element. That is, instead of text, it will return the attribute value. Now what is attribute value? Again, going to the XPath video, wherein we did talk about what is a tag, what is an attribute, and what is an attribute value, right? So refer to that, but for now I'll just talk about it a while. So okay, it is more of a example. Okay. So let me show you the practical example of this get attribute method implementation. So again, on line number 33, it remains the same, driver.find element using the XPath, and then you have dot get attribute, right? Now what is an attribute and what is an attribute value? We'll see it in a while. But for now, let me copy the XPath. Okay. See, this is the XPath, right? Now let me just modify it as well. I'll explain it to you later, but for now, just let me modify it. So yeah, done. Cool. This is the XPath that we want to use and to use the method get attribute, right? Now let me take you to the DOM, or take you to the structure of this web element. So do you see the one highlighted in orange, right? This is the element for which we want to use dot get attribute. This was the same example we used for get text as well. I have kept them same purposefully. So with get text, we got the value as Miss Brenda McClure. Now what will I do with getAttribute, right? So if you know that this is, which is lightning formatted name, this is termed as a tag, right? And now slot, this is termed as an attribute name, and this primary field is termed as an attribute value, right? So there might be times when you need to fetch the value which is primary field, which is termed as attribute value, right? This is very important. You might not able to correlate the situations wherein you need to fetch the attribute value, but it is important to understand that this is a very critical concept, so you have to know how to do it. Now let's suppose I ask you to go ahead and fetch the attribute value of slot. So slot is the attribute or attribute name, and you have to fetch the value that is primary field. So then in that case, you use dot get attribute value, right? So manually we have seen that the printed value should be primary field, right? Now let's go ahead and let's again execute it and see if this works or not. I'm just running it again and again. The next example, I'll not run it because the results are already displayed. So because it saves time and all. Now we have navigated to the record, and it takes around 2 to 2.5 seconds to fetch the data, closes, and you have the value printed on console. Now you have get attribute value, which is line number 33 to 34, right? So in line number 34, it says get attribute value, and then you have the get attribute value method. So whatever result was retrieved from dot get attribute, right, that has to be stored in the string so we can display it later, right? So dot get attribute has a parameter which is slot, because if you remember, we did say that we have to find the attribute value of the attribute slot. So there might be multiple combinations of this manner. It's slot, it can be something else as well, right? So there are usually 3 to 4 pairs of attribute and attribute value. So in this case, I'll have to specify for which attribute do I need to fetch the attribute value. Cool. So we have done that. And now whatever the value came in, we did store it in the variable. So get attribute value was primary field. If you remember, we did say that the attribute value should come out to be primary field, and it did. So that is the function of get attribute, right? So, and don't worry, just saying this in all the videos, I always share the entire source code with you. You need not worry about the code right now. Just try to understand whatever I'm explaining. And if you feel that there is any question at any point of time, please feel free to stop, right? Now, going to the last method, which is isDisplayed method. I'm not going to go to the presentation here. I'm just going to explain it right now. So isDisplayed, as the name suggests, it basically tells whether the element for which I'm searching is present on the web page or not, is present in the DOM or not, right? So it is a Boolean, and Boolean says it means true or false. So if it is present on the page, it will return true. If it is not present on the page, it will return false, right? So let me show it to you again, first manually, or tell you how, what we're expecting. So I have this XPath already, and I'll go to the web page and I'll click on inspect. Maybe let me make it bottom. And I have put in an XPath, and that is navigating me to CFO. If you see on the top left, there is a blue highlight. So it is this XPath is navigating to this particular element, which is CFO, right? Now I want to use dot is displayed method to verify whether the CFO is currently present on the web page or not, and whether it is present in this hierarchy that is using this XPath, right? So I'll simply use driver.find element, put in the XPath, and I'll use the method which is dot is displayed. I've highlighted it right now on line number 36. Dot is displayed, right? So if it is present on the screen, the returned value will be true, and whatever the value is coming out, we'll store that in a variable of type Boolean. So Boolean display flag, and then I'll print that value, right? So now let me go ahead and let me show it to you, because I already printed it. Display flag returns the value true because CFO is present on the page. Had it been not present on the page, in that case, it would have returned false, right? So that is what is displayed will do. That is, it will tell you whether an element is present on the screen or not. That's it, true or false, and no other information. So this was the sample code, sample example, and implementation and explanation for getText, getAttribute, and isDisplayed method. I hope that this was clear to you and you do have an understanding of these three methods and you will be able to use them as required in your test case automation. Any questions, any doubts, please feel free to reach out to us via comments. And yeah, see you in the next video. And in the next video, we'll be talking about size method and send keys method, right? So stay tuned. And yeah, thank you again. Bye.